January 1943. A young woman with dark hair stood in a Soviet military training facility, holding a Mosin Nagant rifle for the first time in her life. Her name was Rosa Manfredovna Shanina. She was 20 years old. She had never fired a weapon before. She had never killed anything. She had never conceived of herself as a soldier. But here she was, holding a rifle that weighed nearly 4 kilograms, feeling its weight, understanding that this object would soon determine whether she lived or died. Rosa had been working as a telephone operator in a collective farm before the war came. She had been doing ordinary work in an ordinary way, living an ordinary Soviet life. Then the war came. Germany invaded the Soviet Union. Millions of men were conscripted. The Soviet army needed bodies. But by 1943, the Soviet army also needed something else. Precision. The Soviet army needed snipers. And the Soviet army had discovered something unusual during the first years of the war. Women could be snipers. Women, in fact, could be better snipers than men. This was not immediately obvious. Sniping was considered a man's profession. Sniping required killing. Killing was supposed to be something that men did. Women were supposed to be supporters, not killers. But military necessity does not care about gender conventions. Military necessity only cares about results. The Soviet military, by 1943, had begun a systematic program of recruiting women as snipers. Rosa had volunteered. Rosa had responded to recruitment notices. Rosa had understood that the Soviet Union needed her. Rosa had come to the training facility to be transformed from a telephone operator into a weapon. The instructor was a woman named Mina Mikhailovna Petrenka. Petrenka had been a sniper herself. Petrenka had killed Germans. Petrenka had survived. Petrenka was now responsible for training new snipers. Petrenka looked at Rosa and saw something that most people would not have seen. Petrenka saw potential. "Shanina," Petrenka said, "you understand what a sniper does?" "Yes, Comrade Commander," Rosa replied. "A sniper kills enemies at distance." "Not just kills," Petrenka corrected. "A sniper must understand killing. A sniper must make each shot count. A sniper must be patient. A sniper must be willing to wait for hours without moving, without making sound, without giving away position. A sniper must understand that one bullet can end a man's life. A sniper must be comfortable with that understanding." Rosa nodded. Rosa understood. Petrenka raised the rifle Rosa was holding. "This is a Mosin Nagant. It is reliable, it is accurate. But it is not easy to use. The trigger is heavy. The sights are not precise. The ammunition is not consistent. You will need to compensate for all of these deficiencies with skill and understanding." Over the following weeks, Rosa learned. Rosa learned how to calculate distance. Rosa learned how to adjust for wind. Rosa learned how to breathe so that the shot was accurate. Rosa learned how to hold the rifle so that her muscles did not fatigue. Rosa learned how to remain still for hours. Rosa learned the mathematics of killing. But Petrenka understood that technical training was not the most important thing. The most important thing was psychological preparation. One day, Petrenka took Rosa to a range where cardboard targets were arranged at varying distances. Petrenka asked Rosa to shoot. Rosa shot. Rosa hit the targets. Then Petrenka said something that would change how Rosa understood herself. "Now, imagine that those targets are German soldiers. Imagine that if you miss, they will kill you. Imagine that they are trying to kill you right now. Imagine that your shot is the only thing that separates you from death." Rosa fired again. This time her shots were different. Rosa's shots were more controlled. Rosa's shots were more precise. Rosa understood in that moment that killing was not abstract. Killing was survival. By the end of her training, Rosa had become proficient with the rifle. Rosa had become skilled at calculating distances and adjusting for wind. Rosa had become comfortable with the idea of killing. Rosa had been transformed from a telephone operator into a sniper. In March 1943, Rosa was assigned to a Soviet sniper unit on the front line. The assignment came with very little ceremony. Rosa was given her rifle, given ammunition, given a position in a communication trench, and told to wait. Rosa waited. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. Then, on the 4th day, a German soldier appeared. The German was standing on a ridge, looking through binoculars at Soviet positions. The German did not see Rosa. The German did not know that Rosa was watching him. The German did not know that his life was about to end. Rosa calculated the distance, perhaps 300 meters. She calculated wind speed. There was a slight breeze from the northeast. She calculated her breathing. She emptied her lungs partially and held them still. She placed her finger on the trigger. She squeezed. The German fell. Rosa had killed her first man. She had pulled a trigger and ended a human life. She had transformed from someone who had never killed anything to someone who had killed a man. And she had done it with such precision that the German had not even known he was about to die. The other soldiers in her unit did not celebrate. They simply noted the kill. 1 dead German, 1 less enemy, 1 more reason to continue existing. The mathematics of war were simple. As long as you killed more Germans than they killed you were winning. Rosa understood this mathematics perfectly. Rosa would spend the next 18 months of her life proving that she understood this mathematics better than almost anyone else in the Soviet army. April 1943. Rosa had been on the front for 1 month. Her count was 14 kills, 14 dead Germans, 14 men who had been alive until Rosa aimed a rifle at them and pulled the trigger. 14 men who were no longer alive because Rosa was better at shooting than they were at surviving. Rosa learned quickly what separated successful snipers from dead snipers. Successful snipers understood that impatience was death. Successful snipers waited. They waited for hours. They waited for days. They waited until the perfect moment when a German soldier would present himself as a target. Then they shot. Then they moved positions immediately. Then they waited again. Dead snipers were the ones who shot and stayed in position. Dead snipers were the ones who took multiple shots from the same location. Dead snipers were the ones who got confident and careless. By April, Rosa had already seen 3 Soviet snipers killed by German counter-snipers. Rosa understood the mathematics. 1 mistake meant death. Petrenka came to Rosa's position in early April. Petrenka was visiting the snipers under her command. Petrenka looked at Rosa's score, 14 kills, and nodded with approval. "You are good, Shanina," Petrenka said. "But you are not yet excellent. Excellent snipers understand something that good snipers are still learning." "What is that, Comrade Commander?" Rosa asked. "Excellent snipers understand that war is not about individual kills. War is about tactical advantage. A good sniper kills enemies. An excellent sniper kills the right enemies in the right places at the right times to change the tactical situation." Rosa considered this. Rosa understood that Petrenka was saying something important. Rosa understood that killing was not random. Killing was strategic. "For example," Petrenka continued, "killing a German machine gunner who is suppressing our advance is worth more than killing a German soldier who is sleeping in a trench. Killing a German officer is worth more than killing a German private. Killing a German sniper is worth more than killing a German infantryman. You must learn to think about which kills matter most." From that point forward, Rosa began to think differently about her kills. Rosa began to identify German officers. Rosa began to identify German machine gunners. Rosa began to identify German snipers. Rosa began to hunt strategically, not randomly. By June, her count had risen to 40 kills. But more importantly, the kills she was making were having tactical impact. German positions that had been well organized began to show signs of chaos. German communications seemed disrupted. German attacks seemed less coordinated. Rosa's kills were beginning to do something beyond simply reducing German numbers. They were degrading German operational capability. In July, something changed. A new German sniper appeared in Rosa's sector. The German sniper was different from the others. The German sniper was professional. The German sniper understood camouflage. The German sniper understood patience. The German sniper understood the mathematics of counter-sniping. The German sniper killed 2 Soviet snipers in Rosa's unit within a week. The German sniper was hunting snipers, not soldiers. The German sniper understood that eliminating Soviet sniping capability was more valuable than eliminating Soviet infantry. Rosa understood that she was facing a professional opponent. Rosa understood that this was no longer about accumulating kills. This was about survival against someone who was at least as skilled as she was. Rosa began to observe the German sniper's pattern. Rosa understood that the German did not make mistakes. The German waited. The German was patient. The German was, Rosa had to admit this to herself, probably better than she was. Rosa had killed 40 Germans. The German sniper had killed Soviet officers and snipers. The German sniper had killed higher-value targets. But Rosa also understood something else. The German sniper was a man. The German sniper was probably older. The German sniper had been trained in a different tradition. The German sniper was probably not expecting to be hunted by a woman. Rosa used this advantage. Rosa moved differently than male snipers. Rosa chose positions that other snipers might consider too exposed. Rosa used her smaller frame to access positions that larger men could not access. Rosa began to understand the German sniper's psychology. In late July, Rosa saw the German sniper's position through her scope. The German was in a ruined building, looking out through a window. The German was looking for Soviet snipers. The German did not see Rosa. Rosa had her target, but Rosa also understood that this would be the moment where everything changed. If she shot and missed, the German would know where she was. If she shot and missed, the German would hunt her. If she shot and missed, she would probably be dead within hours. Rosa calculated the distance, approximately 400 meters. She calculated wind. She calculated for the slight vibration that came from standing in her carefully concealed position. She emptied her lungs partially. She held them still. She placed her finger on the trigger. Rosa squeezed. The German fell. Through her scope, Rosa watched the German sniper's body collapse inside the ruined building. Rosa had killed the German sniper who had killed 2 Soviet snipers. Rosa had won the sniper duel. But Rosa also understood that the German had a partner. Snipers often worked in pairs. If the German had been hunting Rosa, the German likely had support. Rosa moved position immediately. Rosa left her careful hide and moved through the trenches to a new position. Rosa waited. 2 hours later, a German sniper shot into the position Rosa had just left. The German sniper's bullet hit empty air. Rosa was already gone. That night, Rosa realized something. She was no longer just a soldier who was killing Germans. She was a hunter. She was hunting other hunters. She was engaged in a form of warfare that was more personal than anything she had imagined. She was becoming something different. She was becoming a professional killer. By August, her count had risen to 60 kills. But Rosa felt something different inside herself. Rosa no longer felt fear about killing. Rosa no longer felt hesitation. Rosa had crossed a psychological barrier. Rosa had become comfortable with death. Petrenka, visiting again, noticed this change. Petrenka did not comment on it. Petrenka simply said, "You are developing into an excellent sniper, Shanina. But remember, the best snipers are the ones who survive the longest. Killing is easy. Surviving is difficult." Rosa understood what Petrenka meant. Rosa understood that the longer you lived, the more your kills would accumulate. Rosa understood that she needed to focus not on the number of kills, but on surviving long enough to achieve those kills. From that moment forward, Rosa's strategy changed. Rosa became even more cautious. Rosa became even more patient. Rosa became even more careful about her positions and her movements. Rosa began to accumulate kills not through recklessness, but through discipline. September 1943 through early 1944. Rosa's score climbed steadily. 80 kills, 100 kills, 150 kills. The numbers accumulated like a ledger of death. Each number represented a German soldier who had been alive until Rosa aimed a rifle at them and pulled a trigger. Each number represented a moment where Rosa's skill had been measured against another human being's will to survive, and Rosa's skill had proven superior. By early 1944, Rosa had become legendary in her sector. Soviet soldiers knew her name. German soldiers had begun to fear her name. Command had begun to use Rosa as a symbol of Soviet military capability. Newspapers were starting to mention her achievements. Radio broadcasts were beginning to tell her story. But with fame came complications. Rosa could no longer move freely. Rosa could no longer maintain simple cover. German command, understanding that Rosa was becoming a symbol, began dedicating resources specifically to hunting her. German counter-snipers were assigned the mission of eliminating Rosa Shanina. German intelligence began analyzing her patterns. German high command wanted Rosa dead. In March 1944, an opportunity presented itself. Soviet forces were planning an offensive. The offensive required that German defenses be disrupted. The offensive required that German command be confused. The offensive required that German coordination be degraded. And Rosa understood that she could contribute to this offensive not by killing individual soldiers, but by killing the right people at the right times. Rosa began to hunt German officers specifically. Rosa began to study German routines. Rosa observed where German officers appeared. Rosa observed when they appeared. Rosa began to predict their movements. And then, Rosa killed them. In a single week in March, Rosa killed 12 German officers, 12 senior military leaders, 12 men responsible for organizing German defenses. The German chain of command began to break down. German offensives that had been planned with coordination suddenly lost coordination. German defenses that had been organized began to disorganize. Soviet command noticed. Soviet command understood what Rosa was doing. Soviet command began to provide Rosa with intelligence about German command positions. Soviet command began to facilitate Rosa's hunting. Rosa was no longer just a sniper in the trenches. Rosa had become a strategic weapon. By June 1944, Rosa's official count had reached 200 kills, but Rosa understood that the official count was not accurate. Rosa understood that she had killed more than that. Rosa understood that some kills were not recorded. Rosa understood that she had probably killed closer to 250 people. And then something changed. Rosa received new orders. She was to participate in a different kind of operation. She was to move beyond sniping from fixed positions. She was to participate in offensive operations. She was to participate in raids against German positions. Rosa understood what this meant. Rosa understood that defensive sniping, sitting in a hide and waiting for targets, was one form of warfare. Offensive sniping, moving with assault teams and providing sniper support, was a completely different form of warfare. Offensive sniping was more dangerous. Offensive sniping provided less time for analysis and calculation. Offensive sniping involved movement in open terrain. But Rosa also understood that she was being used because she was effective. Rosa was being deployed where the command structure thought she could make the most difference. Rosa was being deployed as a weapon in battles that were being decided by tactics and unit coordination, not by individual skills. In one offensive in July 1944, Rosa participated in an assault on a German defensive line. Rosa moved with a platoon of Soviet infantrymen. Rosa provided sniper support as the infantrymen assaulted a German trench system. Rosa killed German soldiers who were trying to organize resistance. Rosa killed German machine gunners. Rosa killed German officers who were trying to coordinate a counterattack. The assault was successful. The German defensive line was breached. Soviet forces moved forward. And Rosa's role in that success was recognized. Soviet command began to understand that Rosa was not just an individual sharpshooter. Rosa was a force multiplier. Rosa's presence made other Soviet soldiers more effective. By August 1944, Rosa's official count had reached 275 kills. But Rosa also understood that this number was approaching the limit of statistical possibility. German counter-snipers were becoming more effective. German command was dedicating more resources to hunting Soviet snipers. German tactics were evolving to deal with Soviet sniper threats. Rosa understood that she was not invulnerable. Rosa understood that she had been lucky so far. Rosa understood that luck ran out. Rosa had survived longer than most snipers. Rosa had accumulated more kills than most snipers, but survival was not guaranteed. In late August, Rosa received a wound, not a fatal wound. A bullet had passed through her arm. The wound was painful, the wound was bleeding, but the wound was survivable. Rosa was evacuated to a medical facility. Rosa was treated. Rosa healed. While Rosa was recovering, she had time to think. Rosa thought about the people she had killed. Rosa thought about the 275 dead Germans. Rosa thought about the fact that each of those deaths had removed a human being from existence. Rosa thought about the fact that she had been responsible for removing those human beings from existence. Rosa did not feel guilt. Rosa did not feel horror. Rosa felt something different. Rosa felt a kind of professional satisfaction. Rosa had done her job well. Rosa had been effective. Rosa had contributed to the Soviet war effort in a meaningful way. But Rosa also understood something else. Rosa understood that the war was ending. German forces were being pushed back. Soviet forces were advancing. The outcome of the war was becoming clear. Germany would lose. The Soviet Union would win. And Rosa's contribution, the 275 dead Germans, would be part of the reason for that victory. By September 1944, Rosa had been declared fit for duty. Rosa returned to the front. Rosa returned to her rifle. Rosa returned to her hunt. But Rosa understood that the hunt would not continue forever. Rosa understood that the war would eventually end, and when the war ended, what would happen to Rosa? What happens to a person who has learned to kill so efficiently when there is no longer anyone to kill? October 1944. Rosa was assigned to a new unit. The new unit was preparing for an assault on a German-held ridge. The assault would be one of many that Soviet forces would conduct as they pushed westward toward Germany. The assault was not strategically significant in the grand scale of the war, but to the men in Rosa's unit, it was significant. To the men in the German unit defending the ridge, it was significant. Rosa's assignment was clear: provide sniper support for the assault. Rosa was to position herself on the left flank. Rosa was to eliminate German machine gunners before the infantry assault began. Rosa was to eliminate German officers who tried to coordinate a counterattack. Rosa was to enable her unit to attack successfully. Rosa prepared for the assignment with the precision that had become her trademark. Rosa studied the terrain. Rosa calculated distance. Rosa identified good sniper positions. Rosa prepared her rifle. Rosa prepared her ammunition. Rosa prepared herself. The assault was scheduled to begin at dawn. At 4 in the morning, Rosa moved to her position. Rosa moved through darkness. Rosa moved through territory that was contested. Rosa moved with the understanding that at any moment a German bullet could find her. Rosa reached her position just as light was beginning to appear in the sky. Rosa was in a partially ruined building that overlooked the German defensive line. Rosa had a clear view of the ridge. Rosa had good fields of fire. Rosa settled into her position. Rosa waited. At 6 in the morning, Soviet artillery began its bombardment. Shells fell on the German position. The ridge erupted with explosions. Dust and smoke rose. The earth shook. For 30 minutes, the artillery bombardment continued. Then it stopped. In the silence that followed, the Soviet infantry rose from their trenches. The infantry moved forward. The infantry moved toward the German defensive line. Rosa watched. Rosa waited for the first moment when her skills would be needed. A German machine gunner opened fire. The machine gunner's bullets cut down the first line of Soviet infantry. Soldiers fell. But the assault continued. The infantry moved forward. Rosa found the machine gun position through her scope. Rosa calculated the distance. Rosa calculated wind. Rosa calculated for the angle. Rosa fired. The machine gunner fell. The machine gun stopped firing. The Soviet infantry moved forward. But another German machine gun opened fire from a different position. Rosa shifted her scope. Rosa found the second machine gun. Rosa fired. The second machine gunner fell. The machine gun stopped firing. The Soviet infantry advanced further. For the next hour, Rosa fired systematically. Rosa eliminated German soldiers who tried to organize resistance. Rosa eliminated German officers who tried to coordinate a counterattack. Rosa eliminated German machine gunners. Rosa eliminated German soldiers who tried to flee. The German defensive line began to break. The Soviet infantry reached the first German trench. Hand-to-hand fighting broke out. Grenades were thrown. Bayonets were used. Rifles were used as clubs. The fighting was brutal and close. Rosa continued firing. Rosa fired at German soldiers who were trying to escape. Rosa fired at German reinforcements that were trying to move forward to reinforce the position. Rosa fired at German officers. Rosa fired until the German position was finally overrun. By 9 in the morning, the ridge was in Soviet hands. The assault had been successful. German forces had been pushed back. Rosa had contributed to the success through her shooting. Rosa had eliminated perhaps 15 German soldiers during the assault. 15 more deaths, 15 more additions to her count. But Rosa also understood something else. Rosa understood that the assault had been costly. Soviet casualties had been high. Perhaps 1/3 of the assault force had been killed or wounded. The assault had succeeded because the soldiers were willing to die to capture the ridge. The assault had succeeded because the soldiers understood that their sacrifice was necessary. Rosa descended from her position. Rosa moved back through Soviet lines. Rosa reported to her commander that the mission was complete. The commander commended her. The commander understood that Rosa's shooting had made the assault possible. The commander understood that without Rosa's fire support, the assault would have failed. But Rosa understood something different. Rosa understood that her role in the assault was important, but it was also limited. Rosa understood that she could kill German soldiers, but she could not prevent Soviet casualties. Rosa understood that she could eliminate German officers, but she could not organize Soviet attacks. Rosa understood that she was one person with a rifle, and the assault required thousands of people willing to die. This understanding troubled Rosa. Rosa had spent over a year accumulating kills. Rosa had spent over a year becoming increasingly proficient at killing. But the assault on the ridge had shown Rosa that individual killing, however skilled, could not prevent the larger tragedy of war. By November 1944, Rosa's official count had reached 300 kills, 300 dead Germans. Rosa had been promoted. Rosa had been given medals. Rosa had been recognized as a hero. Soviet propaganda was using Rosa's image to inspire other soldiers. Rosa had become a symbol of Soviet military capability. But Rosa understood the cost of this symbolism. Rosa understood that she could not leave the front. Rosa understood that she was too valuable as a propaganda tool. Rosa understood that she would continue to be deployed where the command structure thought she could make the most difference. Rosa understood that she would continue to kill until the war ended or until she was killed. In late November, Rosa received news. Mina Mikhailovna Petrenko, the officer who had trained her, the woman who had become her mentor and friend, had been killed in battle. Petrenko had been commanding a sniper unit. Petrenko had been moving between positions. A German sniper had killed Petrenko. Rosa received this news in the quiet of her barracks. Rosa heard that the woman who had taught her how to become a professional killer, the woman who had shown her how to think strategically about death, had herself been killed by another professional killer. Rosa understood the irony. Rosa understood that Petrenko had trained Rosa well enough that Rosa would likely survive longer than Petrenko had. But Rosa also understood that survival was not guaranteed. Eventually, someone would be better than Rosa. Eventually, Rosa would be killed just as Petrenko had been killed. Rosa understood that she had perhaps months of life remaining. Rosa understood that the war was still ongoing. Rosa understood that she would continue to fight. Rosa understood that she would continue to kill. And Rosa understood that she was waiting for the moment when her luck would run out. Rosa was waiting for the moment when someone else would be better than she was. Rosa was waiting for the moment when she would stop being the hunter and become the hunted. January 1945. The war was nearing its end. German forces were being pushed back on all fronts. Soviet forces were advancing into Eastern Europe. German cities were being bombed by American and British aircraft. Germany's defeat was certain. It was only a matter of time. But the fighting did not stop. German forces continued to resist. German soldiers continued to die. Soviet soldiers continued to die. And Rosa continued to kill. By January, Rosa's official count had reached 309 kills. 309 dead Germans. The number had stopped rising as quickly as it had before. The reason was not that Rosa had lost her skill. The reason was that German forces were retreating. German forces were no longer defending fixed positions. German forces were attempting to escape westward, away from Soviet forces that were advancing from the east. Retreating armies do not provide good targets for snipers. Retreating armies are mobile. Retreating armies are dispersed. Retreating armies are difficult to find. Rosa found herself with fewer opportunities to shoot. Rosa found herself frustrated by the lack of opportunities. In late January, Rosa was assigned to a new unit. The new unit was Assault Unit, preparing for an attack on a German supply depot. The depot was located in a town that was being evacuated by German forces. The assault would involve several squads of Soviet infantry moving through the town, encountering German resistance, and clearing the town of German soldiers. Rosa's role was clear. She would move with the assault unit and provide sniper support. She would eliminate German soldiers who tried to resist. She would eliminate German officers who tried to organize defense. She would support the assault until the town was cleared. On February 20th, 1945, the assault began. Soviet forces moved into the town. German soldiers fought back. The fighting was house to house, street to street, brutal and close. Rosa moved with the assault unit. Rosa positioned herself on a rooftop that overlooked the main street. Rosa could see German soldiers attempting to organize resistance. Rosa could see German officers attempting to coordinate a defense. Rosa could see the places where German soldiers were most likely to appear. Rosa fired. A German soldier fell. Rosa shifted her scope. Another German soldier fell. Rosa fired again. Another kill. But then something changed. Rosa heard the whistle of a bullet passing near her head, a very close, near miss. Rosa understood what this meant. Another sniper had found her position. Another sniper was hunting her. Rosa moved. Rosa left her position on the rooftop and moved to a different location. Rosa moved through the town. Rosa moved cautiously. Rosa moved with the understanding that another professional killer was looking for her. Rosa found a new position. Rosa looked through her scope. And then Rosa saw him, the German sniper. The German was in a window across the street. The German was also looking for targets. The German did not see Rosa. Rosa had a choice. She could shoot the German sniper immediately. Or she could wait. She could observe. She could study. She could attempt to understand the German's tactics and psychology before deciding to kill him. Rosa waited. Rosa watched. Rosa observed. Rosa began to understand the German's pattern. Rosa began to predict where the German would move. Rosa began to anticipate the German's shots. But then the German saw her. The German had been looking through his scope and had seen Rosa's muzzle flash from her previous shot. The German knew exactly where Rosa was. The German aimed his rifle at Rosa's position. The German was about to fire. Rosa fired first. Her bullet hit the German in the shoulder. The German fell back from his window. But the German was not dead. The German was wounded, but alive. Rosa shifted her position immediately. Rosa knew that the German would fire back. Rosa knew that she had only seconds to move. Rosa moved. Rosa left her position and moved to shelter. German fire came into the position Rosa had just left. The bullet struck the wall where Rosa's head had been only seconds before. The German was still hunting her. The German was still dangerous. Rosa moved through the town. Rosa tried to find the German sniper. Rosa tried to continue the hunt. But the German had disappeared. The German had either retreated or had hidden. The German was no longer visible. The assault continued. Soviet forces pushed deeper into the town. German forces continued to resist, but their resistance was weakening. By evening, the town was mostly cleared. German forces that had not been killed or captured had retreated. Rosa found the position where the German sniper had been. Rosa found blood on the floor. Rosa found a German sniper rifle. Rosa found evidence that the German sniper had been wounded and had retreated. But the German sniper had not been killed. Rosa understood what this meant. Rosa understood that somewhere the German sniper was still alive. Somewhere, the German sniper was being treated for his wound. Somewhere, the German sniper might survive the war. But Rosa also understood that the German sniper had had the opportunity to kill her. The German sniper had had Rosa in his scope. The German sniper had fired at her. And Rosa was still alive. This suggested that Rosa was a better sniper than the German sniper. This suggested that Rosa's reflexes were faster. This suggested that Rosa's ability to anticipate and evade was superior. By the end of February, Rosa's official count remained at 309 kills. The count had not changed since November. The killing had stopped being constant. The war was winding down. German forces were being pushed back. German collapse was becoming inevitable. On February 25th, Rosa was informed that she was being reassigned. She was being sent to the rear areas. She was being given a position as an instructor. She was being asked to train new Soviet snipers. She was being taken out of combat. Rosa understood what this meant. Rosa understood that command recognized her value. Command did not want to lose Rosa to a random German bullet. Command wanted to preserve Rosa. Command wanted to use Rosa to train the next generation of Soviet snipers. But Rosa also understood that this reassignment meant something else. Rosa understood that her time as a hunter was ending. Rosa understood that she would no longer be tracking and killing German soldiers. Rosa understood that the most intense period of her life, the 18 months during which she had become a professional killer, was coming to an end. Rosa accepted the reassignment. Rosa left the front. Rosa moved to the rear areas. Rosa began preparing to become an instructor. Rosa began to contemplate a future that did not involve constantly hunting and killing. But the future that Rosa imagined would not come to pass. The future that Rosa had planned would never happen. Because Rosa's war was not yet over. But 1 week after receiving her reassignment, Rosa was called back to the front. German forces had launched a surprise counterattack. Soviet lines had been disrupted. Soviet command needed experienced soldiers. Soviet command needed the best fighters available. Soviet command needed Rosa. Rosa returned to the front on March 1st, 1945. The counterattack had been blunted, but German resistance was still fierce. German soldiers were fighting with desperation. German soldiers understood that their country was about to be invaded. German soldiers understood that they were fighting for the survival of Germany. Rosa was assigned to an assault unit that was being prepared for a new offensive. The offensive was designed to clear remaining German forces from a defensive line near the Oder River. The offensive would involve multiple attacks against heavily fortified German positions. The offensive would require precise coordination and courage. Rosa's assignment was the same as always: provide sniper support. Rosa would move with the assault unit. Rosa would eliminate German soldiers who tried to resist. Rosa would enable the assault to succeed. On March 9, 1945, the assault began. Soviet forces moved against the German defensive line. German soldiers defended their positions. Fighting erupted along the entire front. The battle was fierce and intense. Rosa moved with the assault unit. Rosa positioned herself where she could support the infantry. Rosa looked through her scope. Rosa waited for targets. Then Rosa saw something that troubled her. Rosa saw German soldiers who appeared to be sick or injured. Rosa saw German soldiers who seemed barely able to stand. Rosa saw German soldiers who looked like they should have been in hospitals, not defending fortified positions. Rosa understood what this meant. Rosa understood that Germany was running out of healthy soldiers. Rosa understood that Germany was throwing sick men and old men into combat. Rosa understood that German defeat was not just inevitable. It was imminent. But Rosa also understood that sick men and old men could still shoot rifles. Sick men and old men could still kill Soviet soldiers. Sick men and old men could still defend their positions. Rosa aimed her rifle. Rosa found a target. Rosa fired. A German soldier fell, but in that moment, Rosa's attention was divided. Rosa was thinking about the German soldiers who were barely fit to fight. Rosa was thinking about the fact that Germany was so desperate that it was throwing its weakest soldiers into battle. And in that moment of divided attention, Rosa made a mistake. Rosa did not move her position immediately after firing. Rosa stayed in her hide for several seconds longer than she should have. Rosa gave the German counter-snipers extra time to locate her position. A German sniper saw Rosa's muzzle flash. A German sniper aimed at Rosa's hide. A German sniper fired. The bullet struck Rosa in the neck. The bullet hit her carotid artery. The bullet caused massive hemorrhage. Rosa fell. Rosa's vision blurred. Rosa tried to move, but her body would not respond. Rosa was dying. Rosa Manfredovna Shanina, age 20, the sniper who had killed 309 German soldiers, the woman who had been transformed from a telephone operator into a professional killer, the soldier who had been decorated as a hero, was now herself being killed. Rosa's last thoughts were not of glory or honor. Rosa's last thoughts were of the collective farm where she had worked before the war. Rosa's last thoughts were of a life that would never be lived. Rosa's last thought was a simple recognition that her luck had finally run out. Rosa's last thought was that the hunter had become the hunted, and the hunt was over.